This is a jingle. This is our jingle.
Welcome to The Culture Edit, your weekly roundup of all things work and culture. Hosted by Nikki and Chad Strickland, co-founders of Niche Culture, a strategic consultancy and creative agency helping some of the world's top brands define, articulate, and promote their culture to their employees and the world. All right, we are in the 20% of podcasts that make it past episode 10, which is exciting. So on this lovely Sunday early afternoon, when it's 170 degrees out, we are enjoying a nice chilled glass of rosé. The rosé is called Sofera Rosato. It's from Italy. At first, when I read it, I was like, it's from Marietta, Italy. But then I realized it's Moreto, Italy.
This is a recommendation from friend of the pod, Janine, friend of the pod, Vinoteca.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I walked in earlier and she and I had a little taste tester of it.
That's why you're going so long. So it's episode 11.
Welcome to the pod. Sipping rosé.
It's a rare Sunday gym day. We didn't ride.
I haven't ridden all week.
Yeah, you took the week off.
I'm taking full 7 to 10 days off.
But it's never a gym day on Sunday.
Yeah, not typically because we're always riding.
But it was empty. It was nice.
was-
Training Collective in Inman Park is completely empty on a Sunday morning.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
nice.
I wasn't going to say what the gym was called because I don't want all these people flocking to it. But,
That's true. But you told our neighbor about it on the way there, so.
well, yeah, she's nice.
Okay. So didn't ride because took the week off after Steamboat. I did ride yesterday,
Regretted it.
was probably one of the worst experiences I've had in a long, long time because it was so damn hot.
Worse than Moab?
Yes.
Well, you're
Yeah.
going harder. You're going a lot harder.
Way harder, way harder, and it's just hotter. It's hotter than the desert. And I grew up in the swamp in Tallahassee. This is unbelievable how hot it was yesterday.
Global warming.
I thought I was going to throw up. It was so hot just from the heat.
I feel like if you
Yeah.
are still a global warming denier after this heat wave, there's something wrong with
Yeah,
you.
there's no way.
Because 100% global warming. I mean, it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
I think people in Florida are going to have to move to Alaska soon.
Yeah, everyone was dying. So after the experience yesterday, I just was like, I can't ride again. We'll start over next week. So we got to start riding in the morning.
Yeah, but the problem with riding in the morning is we like to work out in the morning, like lift weights in the morning. And then if we ride in the morning, by the time the afternoon comes around, we don't do it.
So it's been a week. Our last episode was on our way to Steamboat.
Yeah,
from Moab.
recorded.
Like, think about how surreal it is. So the last episode, we were in a glamping tent.
Yeah.
It was a week ago.
Last
I
Sunday.
guess it was more. It was Friday. Friday.
Yeah.
And now we're in our kitchen.
In our humble abode.
Yeah. So Steamboat.
Well, to rewind, if everyone could see the glamorous life of podcasting, you would have gotten a chuckle because we did record it in the glamping tent, which was very lovely. But then to edit it, I had to edit it on the way to Steamboat because I knew once we got there with all of our friends and everything, I wasn't going to want to or have time to actually do.
No way. There was no way you would have done anything once we got there.
Yeah, because we had a good crew.
Yeah. So it's a 5-hour drive.
Yeah, so it was a 5-hour drive. It probably took me like 3 hours to edit it, maybe. Maybe like 2 hours.
No, because you took break.
Exactly. But the non-glamorous part of it was that the sun was so bright through the car window that I couldn't see my computer while I was editing. And I had to create a tent around myself with my Reformation sweater, which actually worked. But then I was battling car sickness with the editing, with the sun. It was kind of a brutal editing experience, but we got through it.
That cashmere sweater has done a lot.
It's gone through a lot.
Yeah.
Well, Reformation.
You could write like a whole story for Reformation about that one sweater.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, all my Reformation sweaters, like quality of their cashmere sweaters, the best. And I without dipping into the $1,000 cashmere sweater world, which I'm not going to do because I treat them like they're a backpack.
Yeah, you do.
So, this is like a 200, I would say their cashmere sweaters are like $200 to $300 cashmere sweaters.
Still not cheap.
But I get them on sale. I wait for a sale.
Okay.
But I have these sweaters, and basically I wear them until they have holes in them, and then because I'm not against.
This is a great free Reformation commercial you're doing right now.
Yeah. I mean, they can last years. Like, I got a couple holes in the one.
Maybe we should reach out to them.
Can you sponsor me, Reformation? Send me a PR package. I'd love that. Wow. Hutch just shook his head in the background.
Yeah, I guess we should have mentioned that since we're home. This is probably the only time we've ever recorded with the dogs around.
Yeah.
Which means they'll definitely start barking
At some point.
or chew on bones or start playing.
I think Emmy is really passed out though. She got the CBD chewy this morning. I think it's hitting harder with Emmy than it is. It doesn't really seem to affect Hutch. Emmy's like out.
Yeah, you picked Hutch up from he had a little ear
A hematoma.
a
in his
little
other
ear surgery, and they told you that they had put him not under, but they'd given him
Just a sedative. Like,
a sedative.
yeah.
But they're like, "Do you want us to take him out?" And you're like, "No, leave him in." And then they brought him out, and he was like full throttle.
well, not like take it. I think that's like they asked, do you want us to give him some sort of counteractive medicine to bring him out of the sedative state, or do you want him just a little drowsy going home? And I said, definitely keep him drowsy.
What happened?
And so he goes, he can. The vet's like, oh, he can walk though. Like he's just really tired and sleepy. And so they swing open the door, and Hutch is like full throttle pulling this nurse as hard as he possibly can towards me. And she was like, I thought they said he could barely walk. This dog is like, nothing can stop him.
Yeah, nothing affects him. It's really
They have to give him twice the amount. Whatever, I'm not sure whatever sedative they give him. The vet told me they give him twice the amount that they would typically give a dog his size because it just doesn't work on
He's
him.
like a small horse.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah.
I guess it's drive, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely
testosterone.
drive. Yeah. You're way off topic.
Sorry.
We drove from
Moab.
Moab to Steamboat. It was 5 hours. You edited.
Yep.
I listened to other podcasts. We got there and we had an amazing place on the Yampa River right there off of Main Street. I don't know what that road.
It's Yampa Street.
Oh, it's Yampa. Okay,
Yeah.
Yampa Street.
Right outside of the expo, basically, which
Yeah.
was awesome. It was the best Airbnb experience we've had in a really long time.
Yeah, with Ryan and Alan, and we immediately think had some folks over for drinks. JP and Linda came over. Then we met Saturnias. And Kevin and Rachel came over.
Yeah.
And then we went to
Salt and Lime.
Salt and Lime.
Which isn't like a super fancy Mexican place, but it's still nice enough. But the food was really good. It was
Amazing.
really good.
It was the strongest margarita I've ever had in my life.
I could barely finish it.
Yeah.
I was like nursing the margarita I think I might have left like a quarter of the margarita at
I think you did. Yeah.
restaurant. I'm not a fast drinker.
Yeah. Alan
But it
had
was-
3 though.
Well, Alan had a old fashioned margarita,
Correct. Yes.
I
Well,
don't
it was
even-
it was an old fashioned with tequila. So it was
but they called it the old fashioned marg, which I'm like,
anejo.
what does that even mean?
They just use anejo tequila, so it's like a smoky tequila.
Does that taste good?
I can't imagine it does. I've never ordered one.
Well, he pounded those.
Yeah. That's what he does. But he had a regular old fashioned.
Yeah, and then a regular margarita, I think. Meanwhile, I can't even finish like a half of the margarita. It was so strong, but it tasted good. It was just strong. So great dinner, great company. Everyone went back to our place because it was like this, well, technically 3-story townhome. Really, really cool. So we had people back. We had bought probably 6 bottles of wine with us from Moab. I think we finished all of them that night.
Yeah.
Which is
But
like,
we had several people over. We had a little mini party.
yeah, we had like 8 people total, but still, that's a lot of wine. So
Yeah.
everyone was feeling it the next day.
Yeah. So we woke up for the shakeout ride.
And we really had to shake out the hangover.
We got to see friend of the pod, our good friend Phil Guyman.
Oh,
at the
yeah,
start.
we
We hadn't
saw
seen him
Phil.
in forever.
We hadn't seen him since the YouTube thing.
Yeah, since yeah.
Oh no, we saw him at Phil's the Wahoo thing.
Oh, that's right.
That
yeah.
was
Yeah.
after.
But so
Was it?
we have not seen him since 2020.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Phil, you're looking great.
Yeah, he is.
He was doing like a hug cam where he was like, going up and giving people hugs
Oh.
and recording it.
That's right. He did that with me. So
Yeah,
I need to check and see what he did
Yeah,
with
you
that.
need to see that. I love that. And he had like it was like an alien costume on
Yeah.
of sorts.
We are definitely, Phil, we're definitely thinking about Phil's Cookie Fondo at the end of October in Malibu. We just need work to align with us getting out there.
Yeah. Malibu in October sounds
pretty awesome.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So ran into Phil. Great shakeout ride. Ran into multiple friends.
Ryan showed up late, so we had to do the shakeout ride twice.
Oh yeah, we did have to do the shakeout ride twice. Ran into my friend Lauren. She and I we connected over social media like years ago through mutual friends, and then met each other last year at Steamboat. And then through the past year, she bought a bike for me. We've just stayed in touch, and so then by happenstance, I was in at the bathroom on the shakeout ride, like halfway up that Cow Creek.
Yeah.
And of course she like rolls up with her friends, and
That's crazy.
I mean, I know, I'm like, what a small world. But that's what cycling does. Like, you always run into people. It's so much fun. So it was great seeing her. She's been doing awesome, like has done so many crit races this year. It's her first year really racing, so you know how hard that is to put yourself out there and like really do a lot of racing. Your first year is very, very impressive. So
Yeah, that's awesome. And then then we got to meet even more people that we've talked to, but we haven't met in person. So we finally got to meet Joan from BMC.
yeah, that's
in
good.
person. She showed us an amazing new mountain bike that they have.
We want ones or
That
two
has
of
an
them.
air-powered dropper post.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I don't know if were listening, but it's like the air chambers in the down tube.
Well, yeah, remember when we went back, he showed me.
Yeah.
And he was like, you could just pump it up with a tire pump to put the air back in it, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, which this is all like, you might as well be speaking a different language, because I've never ridden a mountain bike. I've never dropper post. I'm like, how does that work? So I'm just learning.
Yeah. But after a week in Moab and Park City, it made us want mountain bikes.
For sure.
I think we just questioned whether or not we'd use them here.
It's just hard. Like Atlanta, there's not that many places in town. Like there are some
We have
places.
to drive.
You have to drive everywhere. We already hate driving in this city.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of barrier to entry there. Oh, then we ran into Michael's friend, Andy.
Andy.
Yeah, Andy Leidick. He came.
Yeah.
I was honestly shocked that he recognized us, because it's so funny. Like, you see people on social media, then like you run into them in person, and it's so cool to like meet. I don't know, like I see Michael and like all these guys in Drona riding around, having fun. And then so to connect with people in person is just awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. He had a good race too.
Yeah.
I know he wanted to do better, but he did awesome. I think he finished 20th, but he was with the front guys for almost the entire race.
Yeah. And the conditions we can talk about this, but the conditions were so brutal compared to last year, or at least I thought they were way harder.
This is way looser.
Yeah. And sandy and rocky. Like,
Yeah, still awesome though compared to here. So yeah, you want to talk about the race?
yeah. So, morning of the race, we did the 100. We didn't do the 140.
Right. Alan and Kevin Spicer did the 140.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So they started at 6:30. We started at 9.
Yeah, which
It's a
was
big
kind of
difference.
which almost like too late. I feel like we had too much time.
Yeah, I
in
agree.
the morning.
Yeah, it's way too much.
Luckily it wasn't that hot. It really wasn't that bad.
Well, for us, but like, do you remember how people were freaking out about the heat?
I
Like,
guess so. Yeah.
through the ride. Like, remember the stops where people were like pouring water all over themselves?
Yeah.
They would like come up to me and be like, are you okay? Do you need water on you? I'm like, no. This is like, it's 86 degrees and there's zero humidity.
Yeah. I guess
Like,
that
this is
shows
amazing.
like the heat adaptation that you go through is pretty impactful to a race.
Yeah.
Like in Atlanta, like you're just heat adapted.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's why I struggled yesterday, is because we'd been gone for 2 weeks and I come back here to 98 and 90% humidity, and it was just terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we started. We got down there 30 minutes before the race started, and there were already 1,000 people.
It was insane.
And Ryan was like, "Screw this, we're going to the front."
It's like we're cutting the line.
Micah's gonna cringe when he hears this, but yeah. So we just rolled right up to the front where they were doing the walkway through. Like, basically they separate because there's a walkway so you can go across, and we just kind of jumped in. But the reason I don't have a problem with that is because those 800 people behind us aren't racing.
Yeah.
Like, I was going there to race it.
Yeah.
Like, Ryan's racing, so it's like that's the difference. Is I don't know if you remember. Last year, they had like a sign saying, if you're not racing, don't go past this point. Mm-hmm. And I think they didn't have that this year. So I think it was just all jammed up. Awkward
So anyways,
situation.
we go off, and it was actually, it was less fast through the neutral zone this year than it was the year before.
Yeah.
The year before, it was like the neutral car was going 40 miles an hour. So that wasn't really neutral. So we're just going really fast. This year, they actually kept it neutral. Felt less sketchy on the way out this year than it did last year. I know you were the 140, so it's different, but and felt less sketchy this year than it did last year.
Wow.
And I know
Oh,
you
it's
said
really
you felt
sketched
more
out.
sketched out.
Yeah. Wow.
But anyways, we like hit the gravel. I stuck with the group until I think mile 11 or 12, which doesn't sound like very long, but it's actually like there weren't that many girls left at that point, and people were just falling off everywhere because it's pretty
Yes,
hard.
you made it over the paved climb.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There
Yeah.
was paved
Oh,
climb, and then,
I
yeah.
didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
I made it over it. So there's like 3 gravel climbs. I made it over the first 2, like, and I wouldn't say they're climbs, like they're like humps.
Yeah.
Made over those first 2 humps. But people were like getting shelled like crazy
Yeah.
on those. And so, but I could see you and Ryan's kits up in the front, and I was basically in the back. And so I kept just saying like, "Hey, just a little bit further, a little bit further." And then it was the third, I think, right before we hit that sandy
We hit
section.
that hard.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and a whole group came. It was like a wave of people just came off, and I was on the back, so there was no way for me to even get across if I could.
Yeah. We hit that climb really, really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just made my way. I went immediately to like second row. And a lot of celebrities up there. Hall of Famer Reggie Miller was up there, looked absolutely terrified, which is valid because I was terrified. Valtteri Bottas, Formula One driver, also was up there. He was like second wheel. Like I was really impressed how strong he was.
I don't feel like he was terrified at all.
He was. No, he was.
Oh, really?
He was absolutely terrified.
You would think like being in a car driving however, like what, 200 miles an hour, however fast it's going.
He's a look behind her. Like he's like looking around the
Really?
whole time. Yeah, like completely terrified.
Tiffany
But-
needs to correct him.
But it was, I mean, it was sketchy. Like it was really, really sketchy, especially when we would hit the gravel. It was just terrifying. And I knew there was going to be a crash. It's one of those situations where you know there's going to be a crash. You just hope you're not going to be in it. Unfortunately, I was. So after that climb that you talked about, I think probably maybe 20 or 25 of us had broken off.
It wasn't even like another mile, maybe.
Yeah, and we hit that double track where there's 2 ruts, and someone, I won't say their name, jumped from the right rut to the left rut.
Did it-
And I was on Ray's. Raymond was there,
Yeah.
and he was riding awesome, and I was on his wheel, and the guy in front of him went down, and like 6 of us went down. Pretty hard. I was shocked by how quick Ray got up, and so I just kind of sat there I was bracing for impact because I thought the next group was going to just plow into us. I got up, got on my bike, rear derailleur hanger was bent. I literally was like, I pulled it out and got it pretty straight. I think Nate would be pretty happy with the work I did there on the side of the road. Started riding again. My rear brake just went to the handlebars. I had no rear brake. I still haven't left. My bike's still in the back. I haven't looked at it, but I
We're
think
not touching
somehow
those bikes.
it got pulled out, like the housing got pulled out. So yeah, so right there, my race turned to a ride.
Yeah.
It's pretty disappointing. It's 45 minutes in.
Yeah.
It's a lot of training down the tubes. I was significantly disappointed,
Yeah.
and I just stood there. But I knew I was waiting on you. I was like, I'll ride with Nikki now. I'll wait on you, and I just had to reset my mind to, this sucks. But still, how lucky are we to even be here?
Yeah, for sure.
Like just to be in Steamboat, to have the physical ability to ride the way we do that. And I just had to, as Ryan flew by me, you good? And just kept going. I was like, no, I'm like not good. But I worked on it. So by the time you were there within like a few minutes, and we took off together.
Yeah.
But I found out how
two of us.
You've already used that song. But I found out how sketchy it is to ride gravel, descend gravel with just a front brake. Not recommended. Almost crashed like 3 more times.
Yeah.
So you were struggling with some health issues and were not having a good day. And so it actually worked out better that I was able to join you.
Yeah. Yeah, I had been
Not at first because you're pretty angry at me.
Well, I thought you were waiting on I was frustrated because I thought you were like for some reason just waiting on me, and I wanted you to have a good race. And so I was just like, oh man, like I thought maybe you like looked back and like saw I wasn't there and then like stopped. So I was just frustrated because I wanted you to have a good race. And I knew I wasn't feeling good. So then when I saw you, I was like, oh shit. Like I don't want to be like a negative influence, and I'm kind of needing to go at my own pace right now to put myself into a good mental space, which is slower than the pace you're going to want to go.
Yeah.
Well, I was really sick all week, even though we were having amazing time on the trip. I'm going to the doctor. I think it's a little bit of autoimmune situations that we have that runs in the family. So I was really sick all week and trying to kind of push through it. And so by the time the race came, I thought I was feeling okay. And then it just basically I think I calculated that I ate 400 calories for the entire 7 hours that it took us to finish it.
Yeah, you couldn't eat anything.
I couldn't eat anything. I could only eat like the little cutie oranges at the rest stops. and I couldn't eat anything else in between, and I couldn't really drink anything other than water. So I was running on fumes and just trying to survive. But the great thing is that we did stop at the store because I was really sick. And when we came out, the Wahoo crew just happened to be going by. So we like,
You were done. You were like,
oh yeah, I was like, I'm asking one of these people to just take me back to Steamboat.
you're
and
like, just do the ride by yourself. I'm going back. Forget it. It's over.
well, there were still so many groups on the road that I was like, oh, Chad can like hop in one of these groups. They're moving. Like he'll be fine.
and
And
then here comes Steve Bessany.
Steve
Nikki!
Bessany
Yeah.
rolls through with Riley and a couple other Wahooligans. And
Like,
so
what is the odds of that? The timing, the thousands of people, and
Yeah.
that they roll up right when you're having literally your darkest moment.
yeah, and they
Yeah.
were like, in really good spirits, and they were cruising along. They were keeping a good pace. They were just keeping it steady. It was Riley's first century, let alone century on gravel, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And so everyone was just trying to have a good day and keep it steady and finish the race. So it was definitely a godsend that we ran into them.
It changed your mentality. It was great.
Yeah.
We had a great day. It was awesome.
It was definitely one of the darker mental moments. Like I had to, well, then I started, doing my game, which I didn't realize, like Riley said, helped her, where I put like a point in time and reference it back to a point, like a mileage that I'm familiar with from home. And so like my mind, I'm all about the mind games with
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
And so when we got to mile 75 and we had 25 miles to go, I was like, okay, you can do anything for 25 miles.
Yeah.
People run marathons all the time. You could, if you needed to, you could run home. Like you could do it. You can ride. And then I start like ticking down from there. I'm like, so 25 miles is like going to the mountain and not even doing an interlap and just going home. So you've done that a million times. Then getting to 15 miles, which gets pretty hard the last 15 miles. When you're doing those final climbs, I was like, you can run 15 miles. You could walk 15 miles. You could ride 15 miles.
Yeah.
And just kind of counted down. And apparently that helped Riley. I didn't realize me saying that was helping her, but
That's cool.
that's kind of my little mind games that I...
Yeah. So we stuck together and rode in, and it was a nice day. It was actually the furthest Steve has ever ridden on gravel too.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So that's why he was so excited.
Yeah, he was like my hype man. He was like, come on, we're going. So it was...
And we rode in together, like 5 of us across the line.
yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Yeah. It was a great day.
It was definitely a lemon to lemonade type of day.
And I know we've talked about this a lot. I mean, and we've now done it, but it's just awesome. It's just everything about it. The town is amazing. The course is amazing. The course that Micah and team have put together is awesome. Everything about the expo.
The wildlife is cool. Lots of cows.
Yeah, except for the locust, but yeah.
We didn't have issues with them. I mean, I got hit.
I hit a couple.
I had like one, but not thousands. Like
Yeah, I
last
didn't get a black eye this year.
the Colorado chipmunks.
Yeah, Colorado chipmunks.
Absolutely adorable.
So it's, they have more people trying to get in, and it's a lottery now. They're doing just fine. But if you ever think about doing an event, and you don't have to do 100 or 140, I'd probably do the 140 if we go back. But they have a 30 and a 60. Mm-hmm. Our friend Linda Matsugai did the 30.
Yeah.
Her first ever real gravel event.
And she loved it. She had a
she
great
loved
time.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like,
She was dropping people. Like that's a good feeling when you first start riding and you're like, yes. Dropping someone.
It was awesome. Her husband JP crashed, but no one's surprised with that.
Do we want to talk about spicy crashing? Because that was pretty brutal.
Yeah. So I guess out of our group, we had 3 of us crash. I mean, I can't say anything because I crashed too.
Yeah.
My crash was probably the most minor of the 3, except for my bike got broken. Their bikes were fine. I just had a little boo-boo in my elbow. But JP crashed pretty torn up. Luckily, Linda is also a EMT.
Yeah.
So she was able to fix him up pretty good. But Kevin Spicer, who was racing the 140 for us, was in the front. I mean, he was with pros.
He's strong. He's been training so much.
Yeah, he's a beast. And he crashed. I know he was descending. I know exactly where he crashed. We don't do it on the 100s, on the 140, but he's descending the 20-mile descent. And at the end, there's this town, and it's like really sketchy washboards going into the town. And he crashed there and apparently took out a lot of people when he did it, but really torn up. Like probably some of the worst road rash I've ever seen, because it's gravel, it's deep in his hip. He got back on his bike and finished 4th.
It's
And then
pretty
he
crazy.
threw up at the finish line.
Yeah, and couldn't stop throwing up. So we were a little worried. He
Yeah,
had a
then went back to our
concussion.
place and threw up some more.
So after the race, back in good spirits, did the Wahoo photo booth, which all those photos turned out amazing. It was pretty cool. And then went to Taco Cabo, which was a recommendation from our host, the Airbnb host, and it was first of all, it was really good. The food was great, but it was like a party in the back of that place.
It is,
They had live music, all kinds of. I mean, it was insane. And the owner of the place, who looked identical to my father.
He did.
I mean, I thought it was my dad,
But like really drunk.
but
Drunk Tom.
yeah, like I've never seen my dad drunk.
They were
drunk like that.
carrying him back and forth.
They were carrying him
to the bathroom.
I don't know where.
I think it was the bathroom. I think they were carrying to the bathroom
And then carrying him back.
bringing back. Yeah.
He was so hammered, but
Only for the owner do they carry you back and forth to the
but it was weird how much he looked like my dad.
Yeah, no, they
I
looked
wanted to take a picture with him to like send to my dad, but then I was worried that he was so drunk that he'd be like creepy and weird. So then, so yeah, Taco Cabo. And while we were out of town, NCL Atlanta happened, which we were really sad to miss. But we heard from all of our friends, clients, acquaintances that it was the one of the best racing events that they've ever been to.
Yeah, Andrea, Paris, you're listening to
Like,
this. I
hats
can
off.
tell you, like, everyone we've talked to that went to the event said it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was first class. It was fun. It was a great venue. The Porsche Experience Center was really cool to watch because you could see everyone the whole time. No one's had anything bad to say. So great job pulling that off. Glad we could play just a little minor part in it and wish we could have been here for it, but sounds like it was a huge success. So now they start thinking about next year, 2024, and they've got several kind of different models they worked through from Miami to Denver to Atlanta. They all did something completely different each one. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, and hopefully we have an Atlanta team next year.
I think it's got
Just throwing that in there, ain't you?
I think it's got to be kind of a hybrid between Miami and Atlanta. I don't think you need to necessarily go as like crazy as they did in Miami this second year. Maybe years down the road you could build it up.
But Miami's always crazy. If you go to Miami, you got to be crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But well, no, I'm saying
Like over the top. When I say crazy, I say over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that in Atlanta, like pair it with Streets Alive on Peachtree, have the race down Peachtree around the park. I mean, it would be, but have the VIP section still where it's like you offer that higher end because people did like that.
They did.
And I think it would, again, every year it's going to build.
Yeah.
Every year. And like I said in my Instagram post, those who are in doubt missed out.
You've been on a rhyming
I've
spree.
been on a rhyme. I'm like a rapper now.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's true though.
Yeah, so great job.
Yeah, great job NCL pulling it off.
Breaker.
Yesterday, after Chad and the guys got back from Tucker, again, I sat that one out. We went to this new place called Breaker. It's the same owners as what is it? Grindhouse, which is, we love Grindhouse. It's so good. Yeah, and we're really skeptical of any place that's new in Atlanta because it seems like the more crowded and popular Atlanta becomes, the shittier and touristy the restaurants become. And
especially if we can walk to it.
yes,
We're really skeptical.
Oh, if we can walk to it, it's probably going to be complete trash.
Yeah.
And like everyone from Alpharetta and beyond will come down and just take over, and it's just not fun. But we went there yesterday with a bunch of friends, and it was awesome. And the margarita was so good. The food, I didn't actually order my own food. I just kind of snacked on Chad's, but so good.
So what I've been really excited about this is when I saw the concept, and I'm just reading it here, they wanted to focus on doing something that was Gulf Coast cuisine, but lowbrow. So it's really about, when they talk about Gulf Coast, they're talking about
like fish sandwiches,
Apalachicola,
fries,
Port St. Joe, like where I grew up.
Yeah.
And so I know these places, and they're awesome. The place like we went to just a few weeks ago down in Port St. Joe.
Yeah.
And so they're basing it off of this idea. So I was really excited, but was holding my expectations down because
You never know.
never know here. But I got a grouper sandwich and it was legit. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about this place. And they got the vibe right. And the build out was amazing. The food's awesome. The vibe is awesome.
The French fries were so good.
Yeah. I'm really, really excited. That's our new
Get a marg, get a basket of fries, and get a grouper sandwich.
By the way, it's in Reynoldstown, technically Reynoldstown.
Yeah.
I would consider,
It's like Cabbage Reynoldstown.
before that, I would have said it was Cabbage Town.
Yeah, it's definitely.
So neighborhood next to our neighborhood.
Well, because it's in between Cabbage Town and Reynoldstown.
Yeah.
It's in like that no man's land that's being really developed now.
But it's
on the belt
right
line.
on the belt line.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And they have.
So now we just blew them up.
They have dryers and now we're not going to be able to go there.
Right.
They have dryers in the bathroom for that when you like sweat through your clothes, you can just hold your clothes up to the dryer and you're all good to
Think
go.
about people that don't live in Florida or Georgia. They don't have to worry about sweating through their clothes and drying their clothes in the dryer at a restaurant.
I mean, now they do because there's a heat wave that's going across the United States and everyone's sweating.
Not one person in Steamboat has ever had to dry their clothes off in the bathroom hand dryer.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Ever. But it's a regular thing here.
Yeah, I mean, Michael like took his full outfit off and dried it.
He washed his shirt. He washed his shirt in the sink.
And then dried it. I took my
Why we're at lunch.
Yeah, I took my whole tank top off and dried it under the dryer and then resumed activities. So brutally hot. But great. Was a little worried it was going to be Ladybird-esque, which, you know.
Thank God.
I mean, thank God it's not like Lady Bird.
Yeah. The worst part about that is we were talking bad about Lady Bird with our friends. So we haven't even mentioned Goose, and so Goose was there as well.
Yep. And Rachel.
And Rachel. So we were talking bad about Lady Bird, and then Rachel's like the owner of Lady Bird is sitting right behind us. Can you?
Oh, you want me to give you a little?
You just like making noises into the microphones.
I think so. The reason I make a lot of noises and humming and singing is so this week when I've been trying to reset my parasympathetic nervous system because I felt like I was so inflamed and stressed just from like travel and.
I think you just like the sound of your voice.
And so but what I found is that if you make humming noises or sing or anything like that, it automatically kind of like resets your parasympathetic nervous system.
What are you
And so I'm
talking
like,
about?
this is why I always do this because I'm always trying to calm myself down.
What astrology handbook did you read that in?
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. Okay.
Dr. Alan McDonald can tell me whether or not that's right.
So busy week, new client. I think we mentioned this last time. We got a new client that we're really excited about, and we kicked off the work this week. Well the
first
in-person
group,
the in-person insights that we do. For those of you that don't know, a big part of our services, we don't rely on getting information through surveys. Like, not that we won't look at survey data, but we know that the best way for us to understand what the culture of the organization looks like is by actually talking to people. And so we sit down and talk to everyone from frontline all the way through leadership. And we kicked that process off this week with a 5 a.m. focus group. I've never done that before. And it was fascinating.
It's a security company.
Yeah, it's a new company that's been developed through acquisition of a lot of different companies. And so we're doing integration work. So if you think about if you are private equity or an investor and you've bought a lot of companies and you want to bring them together as one, how do you do that? That's what we do. We help them figure out how to do that. And so the best way for us to understand how to do that is by getting to know each one of the companies. And so we started this week in Atlanta. They're $1 billion security company. I got to spend a lot of time talking to security guards that are remote. Sorry, they're not like sitting at a mall with a...
But they do have that as well.
Yeah, they do. But this is like remote security where they're monitoring hundreds of thousands of locations.
Like a camera in an apartment building. They're watching.
Amazing technology. It's all motion activated, and then they're watching for bad guys. And it was pretty cool. It was almost all women, and they love their jobs. And
it's like reality TV, especially
it's like reality
in Atlanta.
TV, and they love catching bad guys. And so it was really, really, really cool. I was pretty blown away by it. And to think about this business, it's such a big business, and they have giant clients, but it all comes down to whether or not this frontline person is paying attention doing their job. Like, they could lose a multi-million-dollar client. That person's not paying attention, and 100 cars get broken in Mariposa.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to think about. And so that's why, if you think about their strategy, we really need to think about that frontline worker and make sure that they care about what they do every day.
Well, and I think what's hard about integration work, because we've had a few clients that we've done this for, is you're trying to integrate the people, the culture, the HR strategy, talent acquisition strategy, employer branding, and you're trying to bring it all to make sense under one roof without losing the individuality of the companies that came before. Because a lot of times the previous owners they're still in it. So
Yeah.
we're going to these locations, and I would say 9 times out of 10, the previous owners are not particularly happy with the fact that even though I'm always like, you sold the company, like you got a bunch of money.
They're never happy.
And they're
with
never
it.
happy.
Yeah.
So I don't quite get that. But, so there's a lot of like empathy for the people who are of the mentality of like, we've always done this way. This wasn't my choice to sell the company, from an employee perspective, like it wasn't their choice to sell the company. So you want to make it the most positive integrated experience. You don't want to start firing people and then force people into operating a way that they're not used to. So it's kind of like a delicate, balance of integrating in a way that streamlines processes and experiences while keeping what's unique and special to the individual entities prior to the acquisitions.
That's the magic. You got to keep it special.
Well, and what's great is the more you do, the more similarities you see. Like it kind of doesn't. We've had a lot of different integration projects where they're completely different business models, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like people want the same thing. They want to be treated with respect. They want to be taken care of financially and, with healthcare and all that. Like they don't want to lose any benefits. They don't want to lose pay. They don't want to lose stability. And they just want to be treated with respect. So it's.
And a lot of times too, I think most employees that are in an organization that's acquired have high hopes. Like they hope this is going to be a positive outcome for them.
Well, it opens up a lot of doors for upward mobility.
Exactly. Mobility, talent mobility.
Money.
So I don't even, we talked about this. So they didn't have benefits or PTO before this acquisition.
Wow.
So that's why they like love it.
Yeah.
And these aren't people that are like, this is the job I'm going to have forever. It's part of their journey, but it's helping them. Like I'm in nursing school and I'm doing this at night so I can get through nursing school. And I'm so lucky that I found this job because they pay me a lot, give me benefits, PTO, and I can get my degree at the same time. And they're just it's so refreshing to come across people that have that kind of positive outlook on their job that you would think this isn't a job for everyone. It's definitely not a job for everyone. But if you find the right person, they'll care a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what they got. So more on that. I mean, we've got a pretty brutal travel schedule coming up. I'm glad we don't have any big events because I don't know how much
Basically every week we're traveling.
ride time we're going to have. So, but more on that. We'll be hitting New York and Chicago.
New York, Texas,
Houston.
Chicago.
Yeah. We're going to be all over the place. So there'll be a lot more of that coming up.
Do we want to talk about some of the articles in the Culture Edit?
I think the most important thing, I know we have a lot of people that are in the HR community that listen and get the newsletter. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission just issued their new strategy guidelines. I would definitely recommend reading those if this is your world. Don't let that sleep. Like I would definitely get on that.
Don't sleep on it.
Don't sleep on it. That's what I meant.
That's what kids say.
Yeah, that's what the kids say. And then outside of that, I think there's a lot of new wage data in the Culture Edit that people, HR nerds will like around what people are expecting in terms of starting pay. It's gone up another 8% since July of last year. Wage inflation continues to be a real thing. By the way, don't forget to, if you like the Culture Edit, the newsletter, don't forget to send it to your friends and have them subscribe
and share.
Share and subscribe.
Share
And then I think the
and
last thing
subscribe.
I want to mention is that John Trainor is listening, and he's going to be really excited to know that he is now the number one listened to podcast out of the 10 that we have.
Oh, and let's give him some feedback around what you heard on the group ride yesterday.
Yeah, so since Wahoo is such a close friend and partner of ours, but also in the community that we spend all our time.
We love Wahoo.
Our passion is riding bikes, and they're a big part of that. And we get to ride with a lot of their employees, which is always cool, and which is a big reason why we've been able to help Wahoo over the years. Dan Brewer on the way to Tucker yesterday said that John Trainor's podcast should be required listening for every single Wahoo employee. That it
Well,
gave him a whole new perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. It gives, I mean, I think leaders forget so often that people at the company, they're not in all these leadership meetings with all of this information, all these details. So, and a lot of times, even if you are doing a great job communicating in town halls and emails, you're still going to miss a lot of people because they're just they're doing their job every day. And to have a way to answer those complex questions the way that John did in such a succinct way, it's really unique because most people aren't capable of explaining things in a really simple way that are not simple topics.
Yep.
And B, like, it's like I think I've said this like 5 times on the podcast. Always remember they're hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
As a leader, like, always remember your employees are hearing it for the first time.
It's not only saying it multiple times, but also thinking of different channels, like a podcast, where you could communicate that same message, but in a way that's more receptive to them. You know, that they're more, because Dan's listening to our podcast about NCL and bike racing and everything else, and then all of a sudden John Trainor's on there, and he's like, "Oh, let me check this out." And so I think there's a big part of not only reinforcing the messaging, but also thinking of the different channels in which you can do it.
For sure. And I think that brings us to our kind of closing, but it's that it won't, Chad and I needed a couple weeks. Well, we couldn't do interviews last week because we were traveling. And then this week has just been so insane with work that we didn't want to commit to an interview. This week we needed a little.
We knew we had too much content.
Yeah,
anyway.
we had a lot of content from Steamboat that we needed to cover. And so, but we have some really great interviews lined up over the next few weeks. So, definitely be on the lookout. I'm trying to think. Most of them have to do with cycling and business, or some sort of endurance interview in business.
People are starting to catch a theme.
You're going to catch feelings for the theme.
Yeah.
Endurance in business. So look out over the next few weeks. We're going to have some really great interviews.
It's not going to just be the two of us again.
No, I mean, we don't want to bore you to death. But it's been a great journey so far.
You say that, but we know what the data looks like, and whenever it's just the two of us, it actually gets a lot of traction.
Yeah, and lastly, I posted this on Instagram, but I want to say it here. We've just been so touched by the amount of support we've gotten on this podcast from people who, like, we know and we're friends with, but maybe not super, super close friends with, and definitely don't expect
Bike friends.
Yeah, like we don't ever expect anyone to listen to the podcast. And so when people, like my friend Elizabeth in Miami, who I've only met her a couple times on the bike, but she sends the nicest messages. She always shares our podcast. And there's been multiple people like that just, I don't know, when people kind of come into your life and really show support when they don't, they're not like indebted to us in some way to share support. It's really meaningful. And so just, again, I feel like a broken record, but so thankful for all the positivity and feedback we've gotten and people just sharing. So continue to share and give us feedback. And if you have any guests that you recommend other than yourself, because we've had a lot of self nominations. No, you can nominate yourself, but try to look further. We welcome it.
Yeah, subscribe and share.
All right, that's all we have for today. But we'll keep this one a little bit shorter, and then look out for a really interesting interview next week.
Cool.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.